Stone, Paula, I am so happy. Oh, you're gone. How did you go away? Paula went away as soon as we went live. Okay, so I don't know why that happened. Paula, how can that happen? As soon as we went live, Paula went away. Okay. I don't know if I should stop this. Paula is not here. So there she is. Paula, are you there? Wait, I can't hear you now.
Oh, for God's sakes. You know what happened?
What happened?
Got it.
I went to, you know how the white box comes up in the thing that says,
Uh-oh, you're gone again. Paula. Paula.
how about now?
Wait.
No, I can't see you. I can hear you.
Yeah, I know. Wait. Hold on 1 second. Let's see if we can
All
fix
right. All right. I trust
There we
you.
that. That's better.
Can you see now,
you
Vicki?
gotta get back into headphones.
Yes, I can see you now. Like, should we start this whole thing again? I feel like,
We
well,
can.
you
Well,
know,
you're not on the headphones.
Am I on the headphones?
No, you're not. Here, it's good speaker. It's on the speaker out here. Hold on 1
you know,
second.
you want to be on the headphones though, because I think it'll sound better.
Let's
okay.
just try this. Sorry.
No, I accidentally pushed leave meeting because I can't see very
Oh,
So I could see that there was 2 things to push.
Now you're on the headphones.
All right. How
And
about now?
Now you're divinely now here
Oh
with
my
me.
gosh. The panic, the tech panic.
You know, but this isn't fair because this is what's happened through the pandemic. We've had to learn how to do all this stuff ourselves. You do have assistants. You have your assistants.
I do, but I don't, it's not, I haven't learned how to do. I mean, I can do some stuff, but I can't do. But yeah. And it's not, there's a frustration that comes from tech stuff that comes from nothing else that I
Okay,
can
so
think of.
tell us about your frustration with tech stuff.
Well, just
Paula.
anything. They're always, what was I was trying to do an audition recently, and it was this new kind of audition where you don't go in to a casting office.
Right.
You make your own video, right?
Right.
And it was for a remake of Emergency.
Oh.
Yeah. I was reading
you
for
Dixie.
Dixie.
For Dixie.
Not really, but it was close. Okay. So I'm, I have to come, I'm out in this room that I'm in now. And,
Yes.
I got dogs and cats and every time I pushed the thing to start the take, either, just something kept going wrong. And I did, and so I did, okay, trash that one. Then, of course, after a little while, a box comes up that says, your storage is full. There's no more room. And I'm like, storage? Why? I'm not storing this. And then you have to go through, stop and delete some shit. And then I swear to God, I give I have 10 cats. I give 10 cats.
Okay, I wanted
one
the
can
count.
of cat food at 3:00 in the afternoon. I have no fucking idea why I ever started doing that, but I can't not do it now because they will tear the house down.
Wait a minute. What do you mean one can? You give them one can of cat food, but you give them a lot of you give them dry food.
At other times of the day, I feed them in the morning and I feed them at night.
Okay.
But for some stupid reason, I started doing this dumb, and it's literally one can of food for 10 cats. They are not hungry. They just like it that I do it. So
and wait, do they all get at least a lick? Do you think?
I don't know,
Okay.
but I'll tell you what they all do
Okay.
is scratch at my door and meow if I haven't gone and given it to them at 3:00. So at some point in my tech frustration, trying to do, Gage, this man is hurt. I tried to do my audition. At some point, I finally got the fucking, storage space. It's okay. I think by this time I've memorized the goddamn script. I finally, and as it happens, it's 3:00, but I didn't realize it was 3:00 until right in the middle of my dramatic reading, Gage, Gage, he's hemorrhaging. He's hemorrhaging. And you can hear, wow, wow. I'm like, motherfucking goddamn cats. Yeah. Yeah.
Rufus has been a part of many of my shows. So you met Rufus. So cats.
adorable.
So you have 10 cats. How many dogs are we up to now? Are we 2 dogs still? Oh,
That's my dog Mo, and
Oh,
that's the
Mo.
thing that she does best.
hi
that's
Mo.
That's only because she's taking a moment out from licking her paws. You know, there's something about trying to write or go about just sitting beside anyone who's going. It's like living with my great aunt Irene. It's not pleasant. But yeah, that's my dog Mo. And then I have another big dog. I have 2 big dogs.
2 big dogs. And so, Rufus has become a major part of my Monday shows, my shooting the shit shows. But he just barks through pretty much most of the interviews I do. So have you found that doing these self-tapes, you run into this issue with the animals?
I do. And when for example, my podcast, nobody listens to Paula Poundstone.
But I do,
when
yeah.
COVID hit and we had to, thank you. And we had to, go to our dwellings and make these instead of being in a studio. At first, the people that I'm working with on the podcast were like, oh, we could hear the dog, we could hear. And then after a while, and everybody on this podcast has a pet. And so after a while, we all just like, fuck it, we don't care. You can, I listened to, I might have told this before, I can't remember. I listened to James Carville and Al Hunt. They have a podcast that's very informative. I really enjoy listening to it. And I think that both of them this is just a guess, I don't know this for sure, but certainly James, I think he's so hard of hearing that he doesn't know everything that you're hearing while you're listening. I swear there was one episode where I assume Mary was emptying the dishwasher like so loud that you could hear it over his discussion of Ukraine. And I'll tell you something. My life is fairly mundane, honestly. I do the same things every week at this point in my life. I work really hard. And, because I have animals, there's a schedule for feeding, blah, 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 blah. And because I have 10 cats, mostly what I do is sift. But I do listen to a lot of podcasts while I do my chores and a lot of books and things. And hearing James Carville do an ad, because all podcasters, the advertisers kind of have us by the balls. That's how you pay. That's how you keep your podcast going, is by earning money doing, and these companies that advertise in podcasting have figured it out. Basically, it's mostly the kind of product that you wouldn't buy in a store, that you would just order online. Anyways, hearing James, and we all do the same ads. And we're all reading the same copy. You can tell as a podcaster, you can tell when someone goes off the copy, because there'll be a part of it that says, tell your experience with the product. Hearing James Carville talk about Magic Spoon cereal is one of the delights of my life. Al, I got this Magic Spoon cereal. Big box of it at my door. I don't know where it came from. Well, shit, you don't know where it came from. Yeah, James, people were just dropping off cereal at your house for no good goddamn reason. Not true. He seems like such a straight shooter. And then you hear that kind of lie.
So, Paula, speaking of tech challenges and stuff, so I was mentioning before we went live that I had reached out to you because I was running a few minutes late and I had texted you and I had completely forgotten. Why did that fall on deaf ears, Paula?
Well, I'm looking to see. Oh, I have it here somewhere.
You have it to show
because
us?
Yes, I do, because I use a flip phone. And so I don't communicate by texting with anybody because it's just too goddamn hard to do. You have to, oh, there. Yeah. It says there's a message. Yeah, you're right on that. Yeah. A lot of people haven't seen a flip phone in so long. They don't even, so what happens is, like, if you want to use the letter B, You have to push the number 2 twice. It's a lot. You gotta be a cryptographer. You gotta be a member of QAnon to figure this out. QAnon, I just finished listening to a book about them. Horrifying. It's called Trust the Plan, and it's by a guy named Will Sommer. And he's kind of studied them and followed them for years. And so he explains what they think about how it got started. Nobody really knows for sure. But anyways, one of the things that and what happens very much, I think, like any religion really, is that there's the main guy. Say there's like Jesus or I guess Muhammad. There's the main guy. In this case, it's Q. The main guy communicates in some, airy-fairy way. And there's people that are just regular people that have figured out how to interpret it. Right. So there's the minister, the priest, the nun.
So like the way they wrote the Bible, like they figured out. Yeah.
It's a pyramid scheme. It's a very similar thing has happened with QAnon. There are people, online, they have their websites, they do their where they say, well, I can, I know what Q meant. They all are interpreting the way another religion would get interpreted. The Joel, what is it, Ornsteins or whoever, the guy who had the money in his wall, that Christian guy. Right. So, but one of the things that the QAnon people like to do is they, like, for example, the letter Q is the 17th letter in the alphabet. And so
I'm taking your word for that.
Anything, I didn't count it. I'm taking Will's word for it. Anything that has the number 17 in it, they're like, oh, that means something. It's they think it's all, and I'm like, really? I don't. I think they've just seen too many Indiana Jones movies. But that would be a lot of. It would just be more like, why bury the message? Right? If the message is that important, why on earth would you code it? But so one of the things they do when they go hear Trump talk is they watch his gesticulations to see if he ever happens to make a Q sign or a 17. Like, really? That's I forget why I'm telling you that. Oh, because of having to press the two twice to get a B, or 3 times for a C.
Well, what if you have to make an M? Come on, that's a lot. That could take all day.
It's a tremendous amount, and God forbid you make a Q.
So seriously though, how the hell do you do your business and stuff without being like, okay, so let's say you're on the road, someone's trying to let you know that the show is canceled, it's running late, something's going on. How do they get a hold of you if
I get there and there's a big show canceled sign on the door? That's what happened on the day was it the day after? Wasn't the day of. I think it was the day after the Boston Marathon bombing. I was supposed to be working.
Serious now.
And I was supposed to be working at Wilbur in Boston. And I remember, I think that's what it was. Yeah, that's what it was. And they were, and I remember that I was in Chicago and I was headed to the Chicago airport to fly to Boston. And I remember I called my manager and I said, why am I doing this? Why am I flying to Boston? Because I've been watching the news all night long.
Right.
This was the point at which they were looking for the guy and they had shut the city down. Remember the guy that they found in the boat? And I'm like, why am I going? She goes, no, they're doing the show. The guy says they're doing the show. I'm like, all right. And of course I get there and paper sign taped to the door. No, show's canceled. Okay. All right.
So your manager has a flip phone too. And
well, by the way, what do you mean? How can people communicate with me? They call. That's how they do it.
But people don't call. Come on, Paula. People don't
have
call.
to. People
I do with you. I call you.
Yeah.
And I know when I call you that I'm going to laugh for the next hour, that's a
Yeah,
given.
see,
That I'm going
that's
to
a good
laugh till I
thing.
cry, and you make it worth it.
People, there's all these, studies and statistics talking about our depression and our loneliness, and teenagers are, the suicide rates are supposedly up. I'm not sure that they actually are, but in what's it called when they ask you questions? What is that called? Pew Research. What do they do? Surveys. In surveys, people will claim to be very, very, and they've taken those and they said, oh, it's worse than it's ever been. Maybe, maybe not. But, gee, do you think it might be that you're not talking to people? Do you think that could have something to, it's very important to talk.
It's very important to talk.
I do it all day long.
Okay, so you are now kind of back to pretty much full schedule, right? I mean, I looked at your tour. You're wow. So
I work
how long
very
has
hard. My goal is to get a lot of frequent flyer points.
So how long has it been? How long have you been back at work?
I think it's been about a year and a half. I started back, I think it was in 2021 in June. And, it started out kind of funky. It wasn't like regular work. It was theaters still had, protocols where, for example, people had to be separated within the theater.
Right.
They reduced the amount of tickets that they would sell. Although the truth is, I couldn't sell out even with a substantial reduction, in part because people still weren't really willing to come out of fear. And I think those were the right choices.
Right.
But they would, when they seated them, they would have like, some maybe 3 people that were together in the center. I work in theaters, so they'd be in like, the third row in the center. And then in the next row, several seats away, there'd be like another group of people. Now, under normal conditions, if I went to, a theater to perform and, ticket sales weren't what we'd hoped for, then somebody, the person who goes out and tells where the emergency exits are might say, hey, you know what? There's a bunch of seats right down front. Why don't y'all come, let's all get friends. Everybody, right? You would normally do that. You would normally gather everybody together because it's easier it makes for a better show. Because you got that energy all collected. Sure. But at that time, what we were doing out of fear was, placing people far apart. So boy, was it a heavy lift, I'll tell you.
Oh my God, I
bet. Yeah. I mean, the energy was just so dead in the room. I mean, I did it and, it went okay, but it was definitely
how long did that last, Paula, that it was weird like that?
Not that long, June, July, August, maybe by September, things, they weren't doing those kind of protocols anymore, maybe even earlier. But then what happened was Omicron hit. So I had planned to be home in December for a couple of weeks, but then theaters shut down again. And so I didn't go. So then I started again in February. And really, it's been pretty steady ever since then, which is great. I personally learned so much during that 15-month stay-at-home order. One thing I learned is that I never fucking want to do that again. But the other thing is just, I really longed for the audience so much. Don't ever tell this to anybody, but it is very possible. I'm not certain, but it's very possible that prior to the stay-at-home order, prior to March, when COVID, hit, that I might have whined a little bit about travel. It's possible. I'm not sure. But I'll tell you, I haven't whined about travel since. I am happy. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how far my head hangs off my spine during the airplane ride. I'm happy as a clam. Doesn't matter. You know what? Nutty passengers, flight delays, bring it on. I'm happy as a clam.
Paula, so did you get the COVID during COVID? So all this
No.
travel?
No.
Okay, wait a minute now. I haven't either. I'm knocking wood for both of us.
Thank you.
How on earth have you traveled so much? And what's your travel protocol? Your personal travel protocol? Don't tell me nothing. Don't tell me you don't mask on the plane.
No. Tom Cruise has been flying me in his personal jet, and I asked him to wear a mask, and that seems to have done the trick. I'm not sure, but that's how it's shaken up. No, I don't know. You know, I glanced at a headline of an article one time, just online. And by the way, you're not supposed to do what I'm about to do, which is you're not supposed to glance at a headline of an article and then share what you learned, because you didn't learn anything. You didn't read the goddamn article. And that's how misinformation can get spread. It's very important to know what you're talking about, to check your sources, to make sure, better to be silent on a topic than to spread shit. Having said that, I did just glance at the headline. I didn't read the article, but I did see an article, a headline that said that there was a possibility that there were some of us that just don't get it, just don't get COVID. And that might be me. Having said that, I am very careful. I have all 5 of my vaccinations. I'm probably going to go back in not too long to get.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Like, I'm about to
booster my
reboost.
booster. Yeah,
me too. Like, I got one in September. We're about to travel to Europe. I'm getting on a plane for the first time. I'm like, okay, I want another. I want the booster again.
Yeah,
but I think maybe I agree with you, and I don't want to give it a kinahara, but there are people who, like, I've been very careful. You've been careful, but out in the world.
I've been very careful. I wear a mask everywhere I go if I'm indoors.
But you're in the theater and you're performing and you're not wearing a mask.
I do take the mask off. Sometimes I wear it all the way out to the stage, and I think the audience is for a second like, what the fuck's gonna work? But
wait, you do meet and greets and stuff afterwards,
I
right?
don't any longer. No, I stopped doing that way back in that March. Yeah, I just feel like I don't want to push my luck.
I think you're very wise. I think you're very wise.
I mean, every now and then somebody will, like a public radio station will promote my show, and they'll offer backstage meet and greet to the audience. To some of their audience members.
Right.
And I'll certainly agree to that. And part of the thing is, they get a picture. And here's what I do. I leave my mask on until just before we take the picture. And I go, I will take my mask off while we take this picture, and I will not breathe. And I would ask that everyone do the same. So,
wow, you are as COVID crazy as I am. I love it. Okay, and it's not crazy.
No,
Okay,
it
so
isn't
I
crazy.
want to know how you do that. Please, help me with how you do the travel thing, because I'm scared. So the
It's
whole
not
time
hard.
you're in the airport, you're masked.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, you get on the plane. Now, let's say you're going on a long flight.
Yeah.
No eating, no drink. What do you do? Do you take it off to eat and
No,
drink?
I do eat and drink. I do this thing. Like, I'll occasionally even go. I don't do this often at all, but I will occasionally go to a restaurant by myself when I'm out. Very rarely, but I will. And here's what I do. I go like this, and I put the bite of food in, and I put my mask up. I go like this, I put the bite of food in, I put my mask up. I'm so used to it now. It doesn't feel like that big an inconvenience. And it's good, because now if you get mustard on your face, no one really knows.
If you get a pimple,
so I
nobody
do.
knows.
I'll eat like a bag of chips on the plane, or suck down a soda. But I literally do it like, taking my mask off for each bite or each sip. It's not like I'm busy just sitting on a stupid airplane. It's not all that challenging to do. Now, I have heard some people say that people look at them weird or give them a rough time for wearing a mask. How stupid would that be? I have not encountered anybody who's done that. I did see on Twitter the other day, did you see the thing where the guy, some idiot, had a picture of himself on his Twitter post, and he said that he had offered the passenger beside him, like, $100,000 to not wear their mask, and the person wouldn't do it. I'm like, first of all, why would you think for a moment that some goober on the plane was going to pay you $100,000? Like, yeah, how exactly do I make sure I get payment there? But second of all, why would that guy care? Yeah. Right? Somebody's beside you wearing a mask, whatever. And if somebody beside me isn't wearing a mask, I don't, it's not like I say anything to them. I don't have anything to say to them anyways. I will say that when I first started back, like in that June month, I was in Florida at one point. I did a lot of jobs in Florida and Texas.
Florida's terrifying. They were terrifying then.
They were. And, people would say to me, why are you working Florida and Texas? And I said, because I want to see them before they die. I love them. But I was in Florida, and I remember I got in a car. I had a car service pick me up at the airport to take me to the hotel, and I had my mask on. And the car service guy, we'd sit down in the car, and he takes his mask and he dangles it in front of me. He goes, "Do you need me to wear this?" And I found it so irksome. I said, "You do whatever you want," because I'm not going to tell a grown man how he should behave, right? You're not going to make any headway anyway. So. And then he chuckled and he goes, "Well, we're kind of spoiled down here." And now I couldn't not talk. I go, "Sir, you have dead people." He was saying it as if they were allowed to not wear masks.
And they were winning the lottery.
And have no consequence. Right. Like, no. Like, we're allowed to run in traffic here. We're kind of spoiled. Yeah. We can take all the cyanide we want in this part of the country. So you might not be used to that.
Oh my Lord. So now you go to these places.
This cat is driving me crazy. I keep
who's this one? What's their name?
Severus.
Severus.
He's a good boy, but he keeps jumping up on me. And you know what? One thing that's happened in the last couple of years, don't tell anybody. I think I might be allergic to cats.
You sniffle, and I'm hearing you say you have allergies now.
Yeah, I have terrible allergy. I have a kitten stuck in my throat right now. Terrible decision.
But you've had cats for a million years.
I have. I think I've developed this recently because I was trying to watch a show the other night in the living room, and my cats kept jumping up on my lap, and I realized that afterwards I was having like sneezing fits. And my eyes were all watery, and I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah, this would not be good for you.
No, it really would. I wouldn't do anything differently anyways, but
Okay, so speaking
I'd
of
shave them.
Severus. Speaking of health. So,
for God's sakes.
Which one is that?
The male. Here, I'll show. I mean, the male, like M-A-R.
Oh, I know him.
Stop it.
I know
That's
him.
my dog, Sirius.
Yeah.
They're all very.
Yeah.
Hey, don't make me say hey.
So speaking of health and stuff, and okay, I'm so happy that you've escaped. Okay, wait, before I get off the COVID thing. So you go to these cities and you do all the proper protocol, and occasionally you go to a restaurant, you take your mask down, you put a bite of food in. So you don't eat in restaurants the way you did once upon a time. You never just sit there without a mask on. I now do that.
Very rarely. If I went out with somebody, which I have a handful of times, not a lot.
Okay.
Which is probably more a product of, no social life than anything else. But on the rare occasion in which I've gone out with somebody else, right. I would take it off for the meal and just keep my fingers crossed, which I think is a medical protocol.
This is
crossing your fingers.
New medical protocol.
Yeah.
So Okay, so when you're in the other city and you're not, so are you doing, are you taking food out? How are you eating? How are you existing? What are you doing?
Well, the majority of my dining experience when I'm out is this, which is I have whoever's taking me from the airport to the hotel stop by like a 7-Eleven or a CVS. And I go in and I buy, a box of a 12-pack of Diet Pepsi cans. And then like recently I was in one of those and I got a bag of Hostess mini donut gems, the white powder.
Oh my
sugar
God,
ones.
you used those in my clip for me. And aren't those the best?
I do. I
White
love
powdered
those.
sugar. Those are the best.
And then I used to eat them when I would drive back and forth from San Francisco to Los Angeles, and I had a convertible back then.
They're very messy.
I had a cabriolet back then. It's a French car, and yeah, and one time I'm eating, I'd stop to a 7-Eleven to get a soda and keep myself awake. I got a little row of the Hostess mini donut gems with the white powdered sugar. I'm eating them away, driving with my top down. And I looked in the mirror at one point. I got white stuff all over my face. Well, of course, a cop pulls me over. And I said, "No, sir, officer, it's the Hostess mini donut gems." All right, so I'm in this store. I get a bag of Hostess mini donut gems. I get a large bag of Ruffles potato chips.
Oh.
I get 2 packages of the waffle cream cookies with the lard in the middle.
Oh,
and
sure.
Oh God, I love those. And I feel like there was something else, maybe like a small bag of Doritos, and I put it all up on the counter. And I thought, Jesus, this just looks awful. And so I got an orange and just put it up there because I didn't, I hate to be judged. I'm very sensitive about what other people think.
Orange. Okay, but wait, come on. You're not eating that stuff 24/7. You eat a meal here and there.
It's mostly what I eat. I mostly eat stuff like that.
Okay, so
and then I look for a good supplement.
So you're trim now. I can see it. Are you working out?
You know what? I think I'm pretty much packing the pounds back on recently. I was at the very beginning of the stay-at-home order. I started this goofy little workout thing where I wanted to learn to do real push-ups.
Wow.
And so I started doing push-ups from my knees to like strengthen my arms so that I could build up to real push-ups. And then I thought, well, so long as I'm doing that, I'll throw in a few other things, right? So I had a little workout plan that I did. It involved, say, jumping jacks, squats. I had Russian twists. I don't know, and these, push-ups on my knees.
How many push-ups could you do? Real push-ups could you do?
Well, I couldn't do any at that point. But what I would do is I would do this little workout thing that only took me like 5 or 10 minutes. I would do it twice a day. And every week I would increase by 1 each of, right? And I did this and then I started posting it on Twitter, and people were very funny, their response to it. And I would say that I was trying to, build up to doing, and somebody, in fact, was a follower on Twitter, told me that if you do push-ups on a wall, where you move your feet back as you get stronger, so eventually, so you start upright, and then eventually, right, so you are using your arms more and more. So I would do, eventually I moved to the counter, and I forget how many I could do at that point. So you started
at the wall, then you do the counter, and eventually you get to the floor?
Right.
Wow.
So one day somebody wrote, "Oh, I think it's time for you to do the real kind on the floor." And they said, "For every 1 you do, I'll do 5." And, it was some big buff guy had written to me. And so I said, okay. And I think I could do 3. So he did 15, he videoed it and sent it to me. And from there, I started every week adding on. when I finally stopped, and I don't know why I stopped, I just did. But when I finally stopped, I was doing 70 something, but not twice a day. After a while, it just took up so much time that I would only do it once a day. But I'm telling you, if my assistant Wendell, like I never did it when he was around, but if he were to walk through the room while I was doing my push-ups, I can guarantee you he'd go, "Those aren't right. You're not doing it right." Right. And I'm sure if the guy who sent me the video of him doing, 15 to my 3, I'm sure he would say the same thing. No, not like that. Your hands need to be hard. So my guess is that they weren't totally regulation. Like I would not get like a deferment to join the Marines. I wouldn't, but I was doing something like a real push-up, 70 something a day. And then if you include I would increase that. I was still doing the ones on the counter, and I was still doing ones on my knees. And so at one point I was doing over 300 of some form of push-up a day.
You must have gotten very strong.
I had, my arms were looking much better. And prior to that, they had really been like, when my kids were little, one of their favorite things was waggling the lower part of my arm, because children are awful. I don't recommend them.
So, okay.
You know what's worse than like little kids is young adult kids. That is the worst. And no one ever says anything about that, right? They'll be like, "Oh, they're out of the nest." Well, yeah, but they're miserable. I was miserable when I was that age too. Young adulthood is not a good phase of life. Parenting a young adult is so hard because the key to it is keeping your mouth shut. And that's not my strength. You have to say a lot of stuff like, "Well, that could work." I can't, you know what? I can't even visit my kids at this point in my life because I had eye surgery about a month ago and it still hurts to roll my eyes. And so I just can't put myself in that position.
See, and I find they roll their eyes at me. I have the reverse problem. They're rolling
No, they
their
do
eyes
that
all
too. But I don't think, in fact, my middle daughter, when she was in middle school, was the captain of the eye rolling team at her school. And we were very proud of that. The whole family was so proud.
Okay, so you eat junk food. You were doing this incredible workout.
It was. Now I walk a lot. That's sort of.
You walk the dog. You walk the dogs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You walk.
But I'm walking like about, generally speaking, about 50 blocks a day.
That's a good walk.
It's about an hour and a half. I'm not a fast walker.
That's all right.
Jody Hamilton walks like 10 miles a day. And I'm just like, who the fuck has time for that? That's it. That's insane. But she's a rail.
So, okay. So you eat these, okay. The last time you were on, you were talking about Impossible Burgers with raisin bread, which was grossing me out. I have to tell you. Are you still on the Impossible Burgers?
I haven't eaten an Impossible Burger since, I don't think I may still have some in the freezer, but I don't think I've eaten one since the man who owns the company bit someone's nose off. That bothered me.
How do I not know about this?
I could be spreading misinformation right now. I think it was the Impossible Burger guy. It was a guy that owned a fake meat company. He got in an argument with somebody in a parking lot. I don't think he bit his nose off, but he did bite the man's nose. And I just thought that was so funny coming from a man who thought it was important not to eat meat, that it would be okay to bite the nose of another. That just doesn't feel right. In fact, Barbara Streisand has started a charity she's become an activist to stop people from biting noses. Something she feels strongly about.
Okay, so wait, so all right, I'm going to get to my question. So my question is, so you eat this crazy way, you exercise, you still exercise. You're younger than I am, but we're still kind of a certain age, and we've gone through this whole pandemic thing, COVID free, how's your health? I mean, I do nothing but go to doctors now.
Oh,
all
that's
I do is go to,
terrible.
it's
Oh, I'm
been,
so sorry.
yeah, it's a pain in the ass. So
It is a pain in the ass.
are you like, you're really healthy? Like you've gotten through this scot-free, this whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, I already had problems with my eyes prior to the stay-at-home order.
Yeah.
And that's where I have to seek the most medical assistance.
What's
But
the eye issue?
outside of that, I'm good. I have glaucoma, and so there's like, rather large patches of my eyes that don't see. But and the thing is, like, I'm not going to be an expert. When they first diagnose you, they send you home with this pamphlet on the topic. I don't understand a word of that pamphlet. And then they have the nerve to, every time I go to an appointment with the glaucoma specialist, they send me an email to like, MedX link email, whatever. So for my, and, make a password, start your account. I never have. So I never get the follow-up information. I'm like, you know what? When I go blind, I think I'll be the first to know. And I don't know how. I'm not going to make one more motherfucking password, because to make a new password, I would have to get a new pet, and I'm just not going to do it. So I have my point is that I have relatively little information here. But there's no consequence to the junk food, the diet. You're not paying any price for. You don't have any cholesterol issues. You don't have. You're all good with all this stuff, huh? I don't have any of that checked out. So I think when you get where you really fall into trouble, even with glaucoma, I have to say, the reason I first went to an eye doctor, I hadn't been to an eye doctor in since like junior high. And I went several years ago because I got to a place with reading where, like, at one point I was using a stupid iPad kind of device to read on. And because the virtue was that you could make the font bigger. And I got to a place where there was no font big enough. Honestly, Vicki, I was up to a word per page. And it was exhausting. I looked like I was treading water when I read. And I'm like, I just couldn't. I was getting like a carpal tunnel just from flicking swiping the iPad. So I did ask a friend of mine to tell me her eye doctor. And she goes, oh, I love my eye doctor. So I went to this lady, and, she had all this fancy medical equipment, the big, huge machine, you put your chin, all the, and all the lenses and the lights and the Huda. And but she says she didn't even use any of that. She just goes, look straight ahead. I look straight ahead. And she goes like this. She holds up 3 fingers and she goes, how many fingers am I holding up? And I said, I had no idea you were holding up fingers. And she goes, you know what glaucoma is? I said, well, of course, I've enjoyed it with chips so many times. Yes. And she said, no, it's, in the old days, they called it tunnel vision. You're going blind, but you're going blind. It's not like things get blurry. They just suddenly don't exist. So it's more like somebody put a stencil over your eyes.
Okay. So it's not peripheral.
It is peripheral.
It is peripheral.
But like I have sort of in my left eye, I have like a triangle. It's as if somebody took a thing from Trivial Pursuits, the little pie, and just said, okay, just kind of cover up this section, right? So on my left eye, I have like a triangle that heads toward the center of my eye. So I think, I think you can have it in different parts of your eye and different, I don't know, I'm not an expert. But,
so wait, is there nothing they can do for this?
You want to do a lot of neck exercises because you're going to be turning your head a lot. No, they give you drops they can't get you back what you've lost.
Okay.
So that's just gone. But it is a progressive disease. They can slow the progression with eye drops. And then I had surgery, I don't know, in the last couple of months. You do one eye and then you do the other.
And so how is that working out?
Well, I don't know. I went for a follow-up after the second surgery, right? So my left eye's been done, my right eye's been done. I should be good to go. But I go for this follow-up appointment, and it's the guy who was the glaucoma specialist is also the surgeon, and but he doesn't come in right away. They send a tech person in to do the eye test stuff. That here's a cover this eye, cover that eye, and look at this row of letters, right? Like we've all done that. And
that, by the way, is the biggest shame. I have the biggest shame because the person who's not an eye doctor who gives you the test. What do you mean you try? Like I can't see the thing, and then they say, "Well, come on, you can try." No, I can't fucking see it, and then I feel ashamed.
You've gone to like Jack LaLanne or something. I never had the motivational eye tech. That's fantastic.
Shamed at the eye show.
No, the people all right. So here's the last time I went. So they put up the first row, and you know how they usually do it until you can see. They start, or maybe it's the other way around.
No,
maybe
they do it. They do it right.
They start big and go small. You're right.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So they put up the first row, and I'm like, no, I can't. No, I can't see. The last one might be an E. I don't know. I can't really see. And so then they go to another one. I guess I don't know. Did they make it bigger? I guess. And then, because they only did like 2 lines. So they do the second line. And they go, can you read that line? No, I can't see him. And they go, okay, the doctor will be in a minute. And, and she sits at the computer for a second, clicks away. And so I'm thinking, the doctor's going to come in and read, this lady couldn't read anything. She couldn't do one letter. And the doctor comes in, he looks at the notes. He looks at in my eyes with his machine. And then he goes, okay, you're good to go.
What?
Okay, but he was the surgeon. He's not going to criticize his own work. And then he took my hand and guided me out of the office. I'm like, okay, there's something wrong here. Something terribly, terribly wrong.
Oh, so wait a minute. So seriously, how missing the pie? How do you read? How are you able to read? How?
Well, you have 2 eyes, and I don't
But
have
I thought they both have it.
They do, but they don't
They
have
have
the
different
same
pieces
place.
of pie.
Right.
Oh.
And the other thing that's really weird, it's not like what I'm seeing when I look at this screen, for example, is the same thing that you're seeing.
Okay.
Your brain fills some stuff in,
And
and then there's a coordination between the 2 eyes. So it's not like when I'm looking, I'm seeing big black sections. That doesn't happen. And I ask the doctor about that all the time. I say, why is it that I don't see like a triangle? Because they show you, they do this imaging of your eye and they can see where you're missing it. And I said, how come it's not like I'm looking through, a jack-o'-lantern's face? And I don't know. That's what he said. Oh, the eyes. I think he just makes shit up. Honestly, I do. But I do really enjoy going there because he talks to me for a few minutes.
so have they told you to smoke pot? Because I've always heard that pot is like the secret to glaucoma, right?
So when I first went to the first eye doctor who said, do you know what glaucoma is? So she's explaining, and at first it was a little bit shocking, honestly. And so I was like, I had a soda in my bag that I had with me. I go, do you mind if I just get a soda? And she goes, no, that's fine. And I'm, she's still talking with me. And, I take the soda, open it up, and I'm drinking it. And I'm, sort of breathing funny because it was a little shocking. And then I go, wait a minute. Isn't this the thing that they say you can smoke pot for? And she goes, yeah, I worked on those original studies and it really doesn't help. And I went, fuck. I was never a pot smoker anyways. I don't really think that it would have, I don't really think I would like that tool. But I do like the idea that it would be something that I was supposed to do.
It's a lovely idea. So,
Yeah.
so driving, not weird for you? You've compensated completely, so you have peripheral vision when you drive and all of that?
Okay, you know how the front of a train has the cow pusher thing on it? That I have that now.
Pusher
Cow
thing.
pusher. And then I have a megaphone that I rolled down my windows and I go, I can't, if you're in front of me, now would be the time. Clear the way. Please clear the way. This is my last warning. Please clear the way.
Oh my Lord, I love this
Yeah.
so much.
No,
I mean, I don't love that it's
I
happening to
turn
you.
my head. That's what you have to do. You have to turn your head.
You have to turn your head.
Yeah. It's the key to the whole thing. Turn your head.
Turn
So I
your
drive
head.
like an owl now. My head can twist almost all the way around. It's really.
So, okay,
Okay.
so you're back to life. How's the podcast going? Nobody listens to Paula, except we do listen to Paula.
Nobody listens to Paula Poundstone. It is going okay. It's, podcasting is very much like the whole podcast industry is very much like the gold rush. Everybody's like podcast. The only person, Mark Maron got in long before any of us knew what the fuck a podcast was. For many, many years, I've been on Wait, Don't Tell Me on NPR.
Yes.
For like, I don't know, 20, it's 23 years, I think.
Wow.
And, for years, I would hear Peter, the host, he would go out and, talk to the audience before the show began. And he would say, we have, something like 5 million radio listeners. And we have, another million that podcast. I had no idea what that meant. And I never asked. I'm not really a curious person, I guess. So I just never, I don't know. I just was, so there's another million that do something that I don't know how to do. And that's how they lose. But I even did Mark Maron's podcast years ago.
Sure.
And I never listened to it. I still didn't know what it was. I talked into a microphone. It wasn't hard, but I didn't know what it was. And then, so, and then everybody jumped into the pool, right? In the old days, when I was growing up in elementary school, when they had film strips, which for the younger Vicki listeners and viewers, a film strip was sort of, it was a series of slides, basically, that were connected together in a strip and a strip. And you were looking at still photos, that would be projected onto a screen. You would use a film strip projector. And it was a teaching tool in the AV department at every elementary school. And the teacher would put a film strip image on projected up on a screen. And then there was a record that went with it. So an audio recording that went with it. And the audio recording would say something like, I don't know, the testicles of a blue whale are over 1,000 pounds. And then, you'd see a blue whale and the blue whale's testicle, maybe. And then the record would go, and they would move to another. So I forget why I'm telling you this now. Why am I telling you
Wait,
this?
because you're telling me about podcasts, like you didn't know what podcasting was.
I didn't know what podcasting was.
What?
Yes. So now, I know what I was telling you. Okay,
There
I
you
get
go.
it. Sorry. Whoo, boy. At about that time, that's when they believe. That's when they would explain what separates humans from other species. That's what I was going to tell you.
Okay.
They would say that like on the
Podcasting.
on the film strips.
Yes.
They would say, let's see, we have hair, we have fur, we have hair on our bodies. We breathe oxygen. We give birth to a fully formed thing that develops. We don't just drop an egg. We don't eat our young, and we reason, and we use tools. And this is what separated us from. This is what made us the better species. And then, of course, eventually Jane Goodall proved that chimpanzees indeed do use tools. And since then, they've discovered that other animals used. It was just sheer arrogance on the part of human beings to believe that we were the only ones who used tools. And then, of course, the reason thing, that's been disproven. Not that other animals do reason, but that we don't. So that's been, thank you, Trump, thank you, QAnon. That's been eliminated. But now what they say is what you said just a minute ago. Now they say what makes us separate from other species is, we have fur on our bodies, we have hair, we breathe oxygen, we don't eat our young, we give birth to a fully formed thing, we don't just drop an egg, and we have a podcast. So you were exactly right about that.
I didn't know I was blowing the punchline. I'm sorry.
No, everybody has a podcast now.
Yes.
Everybody has a podcast now. In fact, if you go to any kind of a social gathering in LA, you don't make eye contact with anybody because you know they're going to say to you, I just put out like 3 emails today saying, will you please do my podcast? We're constantly on the hunt for content. And the truth is, there's only about, just like the rest of the economy, there's about 1% of podcasters that are profiting from it. And the rest of us are just magic spoons bitches.
Well, I don't even try. I don't even go for the. I have been doing this probably longer than most. I was in a very small percentile when I started doing this. I don't even try to make money from it anymore. I'm like, fuck it. I'm ridiculous and have fun. But because I can't get into that pool because I'm not famous, so it's not.
It is fun. It's the other thing is, especially, it's taken a Mo. Mo, come here. Mo, come here. You're gonna see the good training. Oh wow, she is coming.
Wow.
I'm not ready for you. It didn't occur to me you'd come. All right, stop. Sit.
You have to show everybody Mo now. That's just kind of the thing. You got to show Mo.
Here, Mo, you want to?
There's Mo.
There. Modi hody. Oh. It's like that line in Tootsie when he goes, "You want to see what a bad girl looks like?" That's when COVID hit and everybody was
put yourself back in the middle. There you
sorry,
go.
am I in the middle? Was I disturbing your OCD?
No.
When COVID was back and everybody was trying to entertain themselves, it was very gratifying at that point. I'd already we'd had our podcast for, I don't know, had it been a year and a half by then, maybe something like that. Mm-hmm. But it was very gratifying to connect with listeners that really felt like they, that it was helpful to them to have the podcast during that time. We get a lot of feedback from people saying, and we always do an episode every week. There are some people who go on vacation and just leave you hanging, and I don't think they understand. It's like Rachel Maddow. Where does she fucking get off doing one night a week? I wrote to her on Twitter the other day and I said, since you've been doing one night, at the end of Monday nights, I fall into a very deep depression. And I said, you follow the science and tell me how that's not your fault.
Paula, everybody who's watching tonight, I was live 7 days a week for the first year plus of COVID because
my gosh.
I didn't have anything else to do. They didn't, and we became this group of people together that we're very close. And then
Wow,
I went
that's
to
nice.
5 and 4, and now I do 2 days a week, and there is
That's
no
a
money
lot.
to be, there's no cereal at my door. There's none of that. It's just,
You can get Magic Spoon.
I don't think I can get magic. I'm not famous. They're
I'm
not going to give
telling
me
you,
any
get
magic spoon.
I
But
don't know how this. I don't know why this bunch of Magic Spoon cereal get delivered my door today. Stop it. That's not true.
what's
Or hearing
happened?
Charlie. Who do I listen to? Charlie. Oh, come on, Charlie Sykes, the guy in Wisconsin. He's on MSNBC every so often.
Yes.
But he has the Bulwark podcast. Hearing Charlie Sykes talk about Boll and Branch sheets. It's just not. I don't know. He talks about how cozy they are and how soft and comfortable. He actually said the other day, he said, "We have earth tones, but you can get any color you want." Thank you, Charlie. Thank you.
So,
Thank you. Give me liberty or give me death.
so Paula, I know
Your
that
hair
it's
looks
always
great,
been.
by the way.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll bet
I know-
everybody says that.
No, but I'm not really having a great hair day, but I appreciate that very much.
No, it looks beautiful.
Thank you. I haven't seen you in real life in 3 years, and I missed the ping pong because you had my old address, and I'm still crushed about it. I hope there's
That's
another
awful.
ping pong soon.
Definitely.
Yes, I hope there's
definitely.
more
Yeah.
ping pong.
I'm
So
going to put another one together as soon as I can, actually.
I hope so. So, okay. So here's the thing. I know that it was kind of always a dream for you to be an actress, to be a comedic actress, to be on a show, to do
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
now in COVID, it's not through the pandemic, did you do self-tapes? Did you get in? Did you try? Did you do that thing?
Well, I did. What do you mean? Like auditioning? With the
Yeah.
stupid stuff. Yeah, I told
Yeah.
you I did the thing where I had to where I had to video myself for the audition for the remake of Emergency.
Right, for the remake
yeah,
of Emergency. So
You know
that
what I
was
did do during COVID? Well, I hate it when people say during COVID, and I just said it. During the stay-at-home order is what I meant. I had always made, like, since such things were available to us, I had always made like videos because it was just, fun to do.
Yeah.
But I did set myself the task of doing a lot more during the stay-at-home order for the same reason that I mentioned about the podcast, which is that people were so appreciative. I loved reading the comments of people saying, "Oh my God, you're getting me through." I did, for example, and there's a lot of them are still on my website, which is paulapoundstone.com. I did a character, Miss Nancy, and Miss Nancy was Miss Nancy is she was a second grade teacher. She might have started out a first grade teacher at Fairbanks Elementary School in Massachusetts, and she had to go online. Of course, they couldn't be in the classroom anymore,
Right.
And so she was doing her. So I did these things of her, and every day that she, every video that I made of her, she was in a robe, and she had like a cup of coffee beside her and some toast, and she would say, "Oh, can you believe it? It's pajama day again." And then she had this classroom of children that were, Russell was particularly badly behaved, and it was really, and what's great about that, because poor teachers were tearing their hair out at that point in life. And
Sure.
I got lots of teachers who wrote to me and said, "Oh my God, you nailed it.
Oh,
That's exactly what it's like." I had to do a lot of, "Russell, sit down. Russell, are those your mother's supplements? Put those away."
So, okay. So you did a self-tape for the new Emergency. I mean,
Gage.
I can't imagine that that's the kind of show you'd want to be on, but maybe they're doing a different kind of spin on it now. I don't know.
It was, yeah. I'm trying to go into dramatic medical shows. That's my new thing. If you have a dream, I want Alex Trebek, obviously before he died, because you do so little afterwards. He gave a Christmas party to his employees. And he was at some place out in the valley. And he asked if I would come entertain. And I did. And I had a great time. They were very nice people. It was really fun to do. But it was all his employees. It was all people who worked on Jeopardy. And so when I would say to somebody, which I do in theaters when I work, I'd say, I'll pick somebody randomly and say, what do you do for a living? But in this case, when I say, what do you do for a living? I work on Jeopardy, right? It was all, I could have guessed. But I would get very specific with them. I would say, well, what part of the show? What is it? What is your task? And they would tell me. And I would say to them, how did you get that job? And more than one person said to me, oh, it was my life's dream to work on a game show. I'm like, you are kidding me. Not that there's anything wrong with working on a game show, but who dreams of it their whole life? We all fall into different things as we get older, that maybe jobs that we never even heard of before, that if you're lucky, you love, right? But I don't know anybody who dreamed their whole life of, like when you go to, it just doesn't make any sense. I can't imagine being a kid and going, well, what do we have for them, Dana? Who dreams?
Okay, this is very upset. This kind of freaked me out. My kids are both doing really, really well, and I'm very, very proud of them. Samantha just got into law school. Harry's got a great job, this tech thing that I don't understand that he does, but they went and they auditioned for Big Brother. My daughter will put off a full ride at Loyola if she gets on Big Brother. No. Their whole thing is they want to be on Big Brother. I've never seen it. I don't understand it.
No, that sounds like a terrible idea.
This is a terrible.
You know what? I will call them because that's a terrible idea. It really is.
Well, they both have incredible jobs. They're making a shit ton of money. They're doing really well. And they would give it all up to be on a reality show.
Oh, Jesus. Besides which, reality shows have done so much damage to our society. I just, here's the thing, you guys.
Have you ever seen one, Paula? Because I can't see you as the type sitting down and watching this.
I've glanced for a few. My daughter one time, when Allie was in like middle school, I think it was, she had a teacher whose friend was on one of those stupid cooking contest shows.
Right.
And I didn't let my kids watch TV growing up. We watched DVDs and videos on non-school nights, but we'd never flicked the TV. When my son was little, one morning, I was trying a new technique with him. And so one morning I flicked on the television in the morning, trying to find Sesame Street or Mr. Rogers or something. And he saw when the TV went on. Now we had watched the TV before, but as a monitor, right? It only was the thing that played the DVDs. And he saw the TV go on and he ran into the other room to tell his sisters, there's stuff on that thing all the time. They literally had no idea.
You gave him like a total moratorium from electronic devices at one point, didn't you?
At one point, yeah, because he was addicted. So, but there was a point to this. What the hell?
Your daughter with the reality shows.
Okay. So I broke a hard, fast rule about watching television because her teacher wanted the kids to watch her friend on the blah 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 stupid cooking contest show. And I watched it with her. And by the way, I don't think the friend was ever on, to the best of my knowledge, but we watched this whole episode of this stupid show. And it's the kind where they do the little interstitial interviews with the contestants.
Sure.
And they talk about, it was so hard to get the ingredients. And then they show them, making the food. And then they show who gets picked for, who win, and they show the judges. And there's this, there's this really fat judge that is like, he smells this guy's food and then he scoops up and he takes a little sip of the guy's sauce. And then he just lays into him that the sauce wasn't good. And I want to say to the guy, well, clearly you've eaten some not good food at one time or another in your life. You know what I mean? Like he was very mean to this man about his sauce. And the guy like starts crying. I'm like, okay, you know what? Why is anybody watching this crap? I don't want to see a man cry about his sauce. I just don't. There's Haiti, a lot of problems in Haiti. There's the economic imbalance around the world, and certainly here in our country. There's racism. There's voting rights struggles. I don't want to see a man cry about his sauce. There's too many other things. Guy was crying. He was literally crying.
Okay, this is really talk about a food show. There's a show called Is It Cake? I swear to God, they have to guess if this thing is made out of cake or if it's made out of something else.
We have too many channels. That's part of the problem. It's like during COVID when everybody was so hungry for content.
Yes.
I don't get cable here at home. And I don't watch television at home. I watch, as I said, DVDs and videos.
Oh wait, you watch MSNBC. How are you getting your MSNBC?
I watch that in a hotel room.
Okay.
Or I watch on my flat thing via the internet.
Right.
But I don't get cable. But when I go to a hotel, I am excited about being able to watch MSNBC on like a big screen. I don't know. I like that. And sometimes when I watch via the internet, they don't put up the whole episode. They put up videos of part, and
right.
Sometimes they don't update them. So I'm watching like Monday stuff on Thursday, which is very frustrating. So when I get to the hotel, I am secretly kind of happy to have a real television in front of me that gets a lot of channels. But I'll tell you, recently, I have gotten my schedule so turned around that I end up staying up late watching TV and getting literally like 5 minutes of sleep before I go to the airport. And I don't know, maybe if there's a reason I can't sleep, I don't know, but it's different than it used to be for me. And so
it's as we age, Paula.
Well, I'm up looking for something in the middle of the night. I got to tell you, honestly, I have stayed in places that literally have 100 channels and not a fucking thing to watch. And it's cruel. It's just, you just keep
earlier
clicking.
You mentioned Breaking Bad, though. Did you watch Breaking Bad? Did you?
On DVD. I watched it for 4 years solid, over and over and over again.
Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
It's the best.
People kept saying to me, well, you should watch Better Call Saul. And I said, I can't. Because, it's like, I would confess sort of sheepishly to people. I would say, I've been watching Breaking Bad for 4 years solid. I watch it all night long in the middle of the night. And I literally pine for it during the day. And people would say to me, oh, you should watch Better Call Saul. Like, you're not understanding what I'm saying. It's like if I said to you, I have a terrible cocaine problem. And you go, oh, geez, you should try heroin. It's okay, no. This is my cry for help. I can't stop watching Breaking Bad. I don't just know what they're going to say. I know when Marie is going to inhale. That's a problem. It's not a pleasure. I'm going, it's a problem. It's like my dog with her tennis ball. She doesn't enjoy it. She has to do it.
Paula,
I did start watching.
I watched you did start watching Better Call. I have not seen Better Call Saul. And
it's very good. It's very good.
I still haven't
very,
done that.
Very good. And when you watch it, I want to tell you something that you won't understand until you watch it. I feel like, and part of it may be my connection to these shows that are, I might have, tripped something in the happy chemicals in my brain that have shut off. Okay, so when you see it, I have a black and white Saul level loneliness.
A black and white level Saul loneliness.
Yeah. When you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
It's very good. Yeah. Begley's in it.
Yeah, yes. I have no excuse. I love everybody who's in it. I need to watch it.
I had Michael McKeon. I had no idea who was in it. I'd never seen it. And I never really talked to anybody about it. And so
How far are you in there?
I finished the whole thing. And then I had to, I had to go on like an IV. Yeah. When the ambulance comes, one of the first things they say is, did you finish Better Call Saul? I did. Okay. We'll take you in for observation. It's really good. I had no idea that, I knew Michael McKeon from, I guess, three things. I knew him from some Christopher Guest stuff, right? Like Best in Show. I knew him as either Lenny or Squiggy. I get them mixed up from Laverne and Shirley. And I knew him because, I'm going to screw up the name of the guy. There was a guy that was part of that group of Christopher Guest guys, Harry Shearer. Harry Shearer used to write and I assume direct and produce radio plays that they used to make at the Holiday Inn over near the high school in Santa Monica, California. And a friend of mine invited me to go years ago. I didn't know anything about it. She invited me to go, and it was terrific fun watching a radio play get made.
Wow.
And then I forget where it aired, but it did. They were supposed to have John, who's the guy that was in everything? He played Roseanne's husband.
Goodman.
Yeah. John Goodman was supposed to be playing the head of the FBI, the bad guy that Leonardo DiCaprio played. Who used to be the head of the FBI?
Hoover.
Yeah.
This is sounds like we're just fill in my sentence, please.
This is my dream of my whole life, to work on a game show. John Goodman was supposed to be playing J. Edgar Hoover in Harry Shearer's radio play, but John Goodman got sick. And at the last minute, he was replaced by Michael McKeon. And Michael McKeon, now it's a radio play, so they had the script in front of them. They didn't have to memorize anything, but you do have to familiarize yourself with it. Michael McKeon did such a fantastic job. And I had this idea in my head that he was this sort of like untapped, like nobody knew how great Michael McKeon was, like that he was, that
just because he did Spinal Tap. No, nobody knows who Michael.
I forgot even that he was in Spinal, but I hadn't seen anything. Now, okay, so he's a guy that I would bump into sort of usual suspects. I would bump into him at this social event or that social event. He was always very nice to me, chit chat a little bit and move on kind of thing. Right. So at one point I look up a way to communicate with him online, and I ask him if he'll do my podcast. I do a segment called, I don't do it every week, but some weeks I do a segment called Outside the Actor's Studio. And it's where I get an actor. I write sides for us, and I get an actor to come help me, coach me in auditioning. So I write to Michael, I explain this to him. I say, will you come do this? And he's a very nice man. And he says, he can't do it at this time, but, he'd love to, right? But he can't do it at this time. So now COVID hits, and I think, and I wrote to him and I go, oh, come on. You're too busy now? Now that no one can leave their house? And I can't remember if he even wrote back to me. I can't remember anymore. But a little bit more time went by. And I guess I started. Oh, okay. So now I finally get the DVDs of Better Call Saul. And I discover that the thing he was busy doing was Better Call Saul. And he's fucking amazing. I mean, first of all, it's a great character that's written for him, but he is amazing in it. And now I feel so stupid that I'm trying to get Michael McKeon to come do my podcast because I'm thinking, no, this is a guy whose talents have not really been used. And I'm going to give him an opportunity, to show himself on my podcast. That's really, it's a lot of guys in Hollywood. That's their dream. And So I write to him again and I said, I feel like such an idiot. I had no idea you were doing that. And I gave him the credit that he's due for doing it. He was very sweetly said, okay, I'll come do your podcast. I may have also said I knew where he lived. I don't remember anymore, but I may have indicated that
I'm not going to take it so personally. I haven't been, we were at a party. We were at the Squiggy party and he was there and I met him and I asked him to do mine and I got it. But Harry Shearer did do mine and he was wonderful and lovely. Have you had Harry?
I haven't had Harry.
He was a wonderful guest and he was lovely, 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 lovely.
I bumped into him once. It was either in the Denver airport or the Seattle airport. I've forgotten now. And I think we both had delays. And we sat down, had coffee together or something. And he was very nice.
He's lovely.
I said, it was so long ago. And I remember saying to him at the time, I said, Harry, if they ever invent a thing called podcasting and I start doing one, would you come to mine? Well, so Michael did do it. And it was very fun. And the thing is, though,
I was supposed to have his wife. Isn't his wife Annette O'Toole? Isn't he married to Annette O'Toole? Am I right? Know. I think he is. Anyway, she was going to do.
Shit.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't have come on to him. I feel awful. I had no idea he was married. There's so much about Michael McKeon that I didn't know. Oh, I feel like an idiot. Here I am like.
So let's talk about this. So let's talk about gets, and because we both do this. We both have to get people. We have to get people.
My podcast is not generally celebrity driven.
Have generally some.
I do have some, but not a lot. I think one of my favorite episodes ever, we had a plumber. We do a lot, and I'll tell you something. I had no idea that you weren't supposed to put Kleenex in the toilet. And since I learned that,
wait a minute, is that a true thing?
Yeah, because it has a different. It's thicker than toilet paper, and so clogs up the pipe. I didn't know that either. And we're forever having to call the plumber.
This is important.
It's very important. How do you get to be my age and not know a thing?
Well, this is a public service you've now done.
That's my feeling. So we generally have people on. Like I just had somebody who was like this is terrible that I don't remember exactly. He's no longer in this position, but he was like deputy counsel to the Congressional Ethics Office, I think it was.
No idea. Yeah.
And he came on to explain because I got in touch. I said, look, when I heard that the Republicans were going to dismantle the Congressional Ethics Office, it just outraged me. I just was like, what the? How dare you? And then I realized I have no idea what that office does. I don't know how it functions. I don't know how it works. I just right away was upset by it. I thought, okay, maybe it might be good if I inform myself. And then I thought, the other thing is, my guess is neither do most of the country know that. And so I thought, this would be, so, one of the things I pride myself in doing is a lot of shows that I watch, even MSNBC or the NewsHour on PBS, they, it's like an advanced class sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to say to anybody, like Jim Larry used to be so good about this, which is if somebody used an abbreviation for a department, Jim would always, before another word got said, he would interject and say, what that,
I love that. How about initials, Paula? CIA. Do you know what initials mean? FOMO. FOMO. Do you know what that means? FOMO. No, I didn't either. It's fear of missing out. There's initials.
I did if I thought about it more. Yeah, there are now.
There are initials for everything, and I don't know what they mean. And people say them.
But a lot of things in politics, they're used to either because they're used to taking notes or they're used to talking to people sort of on their level of knowledge.
Yes.
And so they blurt stuff out. And as a person that is not, I do feel it's important to be engaged as a voter and a citizen, but I sometimes don't want to admit that boy, I have no idea what they're talking about. And so I kind of pride myself in having people come on and talk about more basic building blocks of our democracy and how it works. And yeah.
But don't you
that's one of the
you
things.
also, I don't know if you still do this, but you used to do where you would look up what you would do
Oh yeah,
definitions.
we still do.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I used to do the vocabulary song every week where I would have 4 or 5, you know, every week I would knock one word off and I would add a new word on.
Yes.
And then I would sing this goofy little song with the goal of helping people remember the words. Do you know, I can't remember one, except for Gallimaufry, which means like a hodgepodge. But so
Wow.
now I changed it a little bit. Now I do this. Now I have, it's gone through several measures, you know, several different shapes. But now I have this contest between Bonnie, Adam, and Tony, who are all my, you know, my coworkers on the podcast, where I asked them a former Nobody Listens to Paula Poundstone vocabulary word. And for each person that gets the definition correctly, and by the way, they very rarely do. But for the person that gets a definition correctly, on our Facebook page, I'm drawing pictures of them and I add a feature for each. It's sort of like Hangman, except for they're not hanging. But it's not stick figure. It's barely not stick figure, but it's not stick figure. It's not skilled, but it's not stick figure. And the funniest thing is they'll say to me, like, I think we've used the word inimical for like 3 weeks. And they'll go, wait a minute, that was last week's word. And I go, yeah, it was. And then they go, yeah, I don't know what it means.
Well, now you have to tell us what it means, Paula.
It means hostile, unfriendly. And I only know that, antagonistic. I only know that because I've used the same word for 3 weeks in a row now. That's the only reason I know. When I chose to do it again as a former Nobody Listens to Paula Poundstone word, I didn't even remember that we'd ever done it, let alone know the meaning of the word. Vocabulary is very difficult to develop. And, you know, hopefully you don't need to use inimical very often. Not within your inner circle anyways.
So tell us one of your greatest gets. It doesn't matter if it's a celebrity, like something like, tell me one of your like favorite shows, one of your favorite podcasts. And
well, The Plumber was a really good one. Okay. All right. Wait. So
not learning not to use Kleenex. Now, this is an important thing. That's a life changer.
no, you
So
still
I get
use
that that's
it. You just
important.
don't put it in the toilet.
Well, right, that you don't put it in the toilet.
And also it can be helpful to pour warm water down your pipes.
Because,
Flushes them out.
okay.
You know, if you did it like once a month or something, it would be good. They say.
They.
I don't do
He
it that
says.
often.
The
Yeah,
plumber.
she said, the plumber said.
Oh, Plumber was a woman.
It was.
Josephine, I like that.
I'll tell you, okay. I can't think of the guy's name now. Who was it? Oh, shit. I need to, oh my, this is terrible. Because I can't think of the guy's name, which is so weird. Because it's a name that we used to use on our podcast over and over and over again. We had an episode one time. So in the beginning, we were in a studio. Now we're doing it from our dwellings. But in the beginning, we were in a studio. And we used to have 2 guests on every episode, which was just stupid because you're burning through guests for one thing. And the other is it's long and it gets tiring by the end of the night with 2 guests, you know. It's but we didn't know any better. So that's what we did. So we did a show one night where one of the guests was supposed to be a survivalist and he was answering the question, you know, what do you do when you encounter a bear? And it was really the first and only show this has ever happened on, which is the guy just didn't show up. And at that time they had to come to the studio, but he just didn't show up. And, you know, our producer was, you know, texting him and calling him and he just, you know, just never showed up. And so that was really how Tony and Bonnie started being a part of the show, because what I decided to do was just do it anyways and use whatever information we could come up with. and have Tony and Bonnie, who generally were there just for, production reasons, but to fill in and give basically they were just looking shit up on their phone and telling it like as if they were, skilled users, like they could. But then I can't remember this guy's name. So after that, we had this thing because we said who it was. We said this guy's coming, and then he didn't come. And so after that, we had this thing where, we were worried about him. And so we tell people to keep their eye out for him, to look for him. And then we made a worldwide, we had a dragnet. But what we did was we used to have an interactive map up on our Facebook page. And when people were somewhere, if they didn't see him, they posted a little flag to say he's not here. I can't believe I can't remember this guy's name because we used to talk about him all the time. And in fact, I even had an audience member that made me these little wooden chips with an image of the guy and his name on it. Thomas Coyne, that was his name. Thomas Coyne. And Adam kept saying that wasn't a good way to look for him. But
did he ever surface? Thomas Coyne?
Some people found him.
Some people found him.
Yeah, he never like got back to us.
He never apologized?
No.
What?
Yeah. Woo-hoo. I don't think you want everybody surviving. So in the future, when there's just, when the nuclear bomb goes off or whatever the hell it is, whatever is our, when the ozone, whatever it is, whatever we've done, our Earth heats, and only a handful of people survive. One of them's going to be that asshole.
Wow.
Yeah. I think we only want people with manners to survive.
I think that's a good idea. I think so. So do you find yourself when you're in like social? Well, there aren't that many. So do you find yourself in social situations? Do you go to social situations?
No one asked me.
No.
A loneliness, the level of black and white Saul.
I'm getting that. But okay. So serious, like when you had your ping pong thing, and people were in your house.
Yeah,
because they go in to get food and they go in to get drinks.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people in the house. Mostly people were outside.
But were you wearing a mask when people were in the house?
No, I didn't wear a mask that night. I told myself I was going to, and then frankly, I forgot.
Okay.
But it really was, I was barely, people go in the house to use the bathroom, but for the most part, and maybe for that reason, maybe because people felt like we don't want to be in the house because of, one of the things that we felt was a rabbit's foot for us, a lucky charm was that it is largely an outdoor party, and it wasn't raining or anything, so that's good.
It was the last time I was there, actually. We played. Oh,
you were there for the rain?
Yes, we played in the rain.
God, that was one of the best ones ever.
That was very fun.
Because once you just accepted that you're going to be wet, it kind of wasn't all that difficult anymore.
Yeah, it was fun.
Gosh, that was it. Yeah, that was a really fun one. We it's only rained during a party in all the years that in all the ones that I gave. And me and my daughter Allie tried to calculate it one time. I think I've given 70.
Oh my Lord.
Or 70 something by now, probably more than 70 by now. That was when we last counted it. In all the years we've done it, it only rained on us 3 times. That's pretty good.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Well,
don't have one anytime soon because all it's doing is we're going to Vegas this weekend. It is going to snow. The highs, it's going to be 28 degrees. And we drove back from Vegas 3 weeks ago in a blizzard in a whiteout. What is going, but there's no global warning.
No, we don't need to worry about that. I don't think we've screwed up. I was there one time many years ago and it did snow, but not a lot, just a little bit. And it was very cold. But I was in New York, not last weekend, but the weekend before. And it was colder in Los Angeles than when I got off the plane.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy when that shit happens.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
And I got hit. Did I tell you that? that I got,
No.
I got hit by a bicycle while I was walking across a street. It was raining and
You
I
did
had the
tell me
light
this.
with me
Yeah.
and I got tossed like a marionette. I'm fine. Just, aches and
Wait, you got
pains
hit
kind
by
of
a
thing.
bicycle in New York
Yeah. Yeah.
and you got thrown and it threw you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And did they stop? Did they
They
help
got knocked
you?
off their bike. They stopped because they got knocked off their bike. I think he was hurt worse than I was, but the guy never spoke to me. There was a bunch of people around. There were other people crossing.
I assume he had no bicycle insurance.
I didn't even ask, and I didn't need anything. I mean, I was hurt but not injured. You know what I mean? There was nothing. I had some bruises and some scrapes. I'd get over
wow.
it. I didn't hit my head. In fact, another pedestrian told me that I fell just the right way. I don't think I've ever been so proud. But I think the guy was injured. He also may have been fucked up. I wasn't certain. But as I was walking, somebody else, so I go flying and people are, are you okay? Are you okay? And I did that thing where you feel really embarrassed and so you jump up quick. And I do recall that people were yelling just before it happened. And so I think they were trying to say like, either for me to move or the guy to stop, but he didn't stop. I mean, he barreled into me. And
wow.
so whatever, I jumped up right away and people were kind and asked if I was okay. So yes, I'm fine. And then I turned to the guy who was still laying on the ground and, amidst the bicycle. And I said, sir, are you okay? He didn't say anything to me. And I said, sir, are you okay? He didn't say anything to me. And then other people were trying to ask him too. And he did stand up. He had his hood sort of pulled over his head. So I didn't really see him. And then people started saying, you want to move that bike? Because he was in the middle of traffic. Yeah. I don't think he was even in a bike lane. I think he was just, and then other people, one guy kept saying to him, too aggressive, because he was going fast
he plowed
and
into
he didn't
you.
stop.
Oh
and then
God.
They moved him over to the sidewalk. And honestly, I just kept walking at that point. I'm like, well, he's not responding to me. Apparently he thinks it was my fault.
Wow.
I will say this, he hit me from the left and I don't see well at all on the left-hand side. So, but I know I looked for headlights, but I wasn't even thinking about a bicycle. It shocked the hell out of me.
Wow.
And then I went whining to Twitter right away. I went on Twitter and said, I got hit by a bicycle. And all these people wrote with bicycle stories and, yeah.
So Paula, when you travel around, this is my last COVID question. When you travel around and you're going into hotels, like I wouldn't go to hotels for like 2.5 years because that scared me because
you just slept out on the street because I think that's not safe.
So does it make you uncomfortable to know that you're in a room where somebody else was breathing the air and, like I used to make them change everything like the bedspread and all the stuff.
It makes me uncomfortable to know that I'm in a room where somebody was fucking on that bed. The thing about hotels is, to some degree, you just have to wear blinders. To some degree, I have to say to myself, I've traveled all these years. I've stayed in literally, 1,000 hotels, and I'm fine. And so, I can't. Does anybody sterilize anything in between me and another person? Probably not. And yet, look at me. I've managed. When Marco Polo was traveling the Silk Road, there was a part that was so remote. There was this one town he stayed in that was so remote that, and of course, there were no inns in that. I don't know that there were anywhere, but certainly there weren't in this town. But the place was very, very remote. They did not have a lot of travelers coming through. And so one of the things they did in their town was they had this tradition that when a stranger came to town, a man would invite the stranger to stay in his home, and the man would leave so that the stranger, and of course it was all men, no women travel. So the stranger would have access to the man's daughter and wife and daughters. And I don't know if they understood genetics. I don't myself understand genetics, but one of the things that it did, and it may have been an unintended consequence, but it broadened the gene pool. Right? Because otherwise the community was so small that they were, you were going to be having sex with your cousin. So this, the idea that a stranger came through. So I'm just so happy to not be staying in those circumstances. That, I'm not upset if my bed's not turned down. I was staying in a hotel one time, and it was in the middle of the day, and I was taking a nap. And I swear to you, this is a true story. I woke up with the hotel maid standing beside my bed. And she said, I have to make the bed. And I said, I'm in the bed. And she said, it's hotel policy. I have to make the bed. I said, ma'am, unless you're also a nurse and I can roll over while you tuck the corners of the sheets under, I don't see it happening here today. I think I did finally talk her into leaving, but
did you not have a do not disturb sign on your door, Paul?
I guess I didn't. But I do think it's unusual. Like if you came in and you realized, okay, there's someone in the bed, I would back out as quietly as I could. But she decided to just go to the mat on it. It's hotel policy, ma'am. Hotel policy. Got to make the bed. That was just plain weird.
Paula, I could stay.
And what would you do, by the way, if you were traveling? And I wondered this.
Okay.
Was it last summer or the summer before? I can't remember any longer. I was in Hyannis one night in the summer, and it dawned on me, like, if I got sick, what would I do? Right? I wouldn't be able to stay in the hotel. So, well, you isolate. You just stay in you isolate. Well, that hotel room is booked on another night. It's Cape Cod, Massachusetts in the summer. They don't have a free room the following night. I was there for one night. I have no idea what I would do in that case. I mean, that's why I keep Marco Polo's phone number in my back pocket. Say, Marco, don't you owe me? Yeah. So I don't know. I think you'll be all right going to wherever you're going. Europe. That way you're going?
Nice. Going there. Going there.
No, that's tough.
Yeah. It's going to be a long plane ride without eating unless I do the mask.
I think you got to do the mask thing. Just don't, just don't breathe when you're. I don't know. I don't know how much science I'm using here. I shouldn't tell you what to do because I know nothing. But I've managed so far.
You have managed beautifully, and Paula, I absolutely adore you, and thank you for. I can't breathe. And my face hurts because I've been laughing for an hour and a half. Thank you so much. I adore you. I will continue to track you down and beg you to do this on a regular basis.
I'm happy to do it. It's really fun. And did you send me? I think I did. I think I updated my.
I hope you updated
list.
Because I'm going to be. The only reason I knew you had another ping pong thing was because I ran into Kevin Nealon and he told me he didn't go. And I was like, what? I didn't get invited. Then I knew you didn't have my.
I think I got his invitation back. Did he move?
Maybe I don't know.
I think he might have moved just to get away from my invitation. When you saw him, was he dressed like a shrub? Because I have a feeling he's hiding from me.
Well, anyway, thank you so much for doing this, and stay healthy. I'm so happy. We are the last. By the way, there's a show called The Last of Us. I know you don't watch shows, but if you DVD or something, it's about like sort of this thing and what happens after there's a pandemic kind of thing. It was really good. It was only like 8 episodes. It's really good.
Wow. Because apparently the herd thins fast.
The herd thins.
So there were only 8 episodes because
the herd thins really fast, and it's
the last 2 episodes were just monologues. That's how few people survive.
It's really good.
Wow.
Anyway, thank you so much. I absolutely adore you. And I put in the liner notes, paulapoundstone.com, and I'll remind people about where they can find you, and it'll be right
Terrific.
there. They can just click that thing, and nobody listens to Paula Poundstone except we do. We do.
Well, I'm very flattered. It was really fun, Vicki. I love you too. I will look forward to seeing you, you know,
In real
at
life.
some big Hollywood soiree
Or ping pong.
or ping pong.
Whatever
That's a big
comes
Hollywood
first.
soiree.
It is. It is.
Yeah. All right. You take care of yourself.
You too, Paula. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.